I'm on a journey to get better, and I want to do it with you. And I'm not just focusing on physical health, I'm focusing on everything: emotional wellness, spirituality, finances, relationships, and so much more. Every week, it will be my personal goal to bring us, the world's leading healers, experts, and game changers, to share groundbreaking secrets and tips to getting better in all areas of life. Getting better isn't easy, but it's a whole lot easier when we can do it together. Welcome to Better Together with me, Maria Menounos. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Better Together, because when you know better, you get better. It is Tuesday, May 19th, 2020. Wait, did I just say it's May 19th?
Yeah, that's a factual statement right now.
Holy moly. We're like, what, 3 weeks away from our birthdays?
Yeah. How many days are in May? 31 or 30?
31 probably?
31.
We've been on this planet so long, we don't know.
I don't know. I never
20
know.
days. 20 days.
We're 20 days away from turning 30. I'm so excited to turn 30.
I'm excited for you to turn 30. I'm turning 18.
18. That's a big year too.
It is a big year. I'm really excited for these things called alcohols.
Alcohols, yes. Oh, well, you're going to have a lot of fun, my friend. So for those of you who don't know, Stephen and I share a birthday, June 8th, along with Kanye West and Joan Rivers. Rest in peace, Joan. Yeah, definitely a surreal birthday this year.
There's a lot of people on June 8th. 9 months before June 8th, people were getting freaky because we have 4 hosts with the same birthday as us.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
I can't remember the whole list right now, but I know Sahai Wilson, whenever she sees me, she's like, hey, what up, birthday twin? We're all about it.
You know, in the business, I've bumped into so many people that share. A good friend of mine named Jeffrey, and my hairdresser back in my days at ET, Jovan. I always had a few people around me that had the same birthday, which, is kind of random. There's so many days in a year, and
what does it fall onto this year? I'm trying to find out right now.
Let's say it's going to be a Friday. I don't know.
Okay. Well, if we have a show, we have to have a fun show.
Well, take a look. I'll get to our quote of the day in the meantime. When dealing with people, remember you are not dealing with creatures of logic, but with creatures of emotion. Dale Carnegie. Ooh, perfect quote, especially for today. We have Dr. Bradley Nelson on, who is very exciting for me because I very much believe in what he's written about. He wrote a book called The Emotion Code. And he talks about how traumas and kind of trapped emotions manifest themselves into physical illness. And I definitely believe that. And he can teach you with his book and his teachings how to release yourself of it. I think this is super, super important for all of us because sometimes you don't even know what could be guiding your anxiety or underneath, whatever it is. There were so many examples in his book of people who were coming in with heart palpitations, and then they realized, it was back, because of their divorce or whatever. There are so many different levels to it, and I'm super excited to dive into it.
Is this
what's cool about? Sorry, Steven.
Is this
I was going to say what's cool about Dr. Nelson is that he has very practical strategies to release these as well. So, some energy healers, their whole thing is you have to come see me, you have to pay all this money. And he does have practitioners, but he's going to work with us today to show us how we can be doing it ourselves, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Is it energy healing, or is it, because this sounds like more psychiatry in the way you're explaining it?
Well, I think it's all connected, right? And so I think he's blending a little of that, a little of kinesiology, chiropractic. We've had John Amaral on, Dr. John Amaral, who's amazing, and he does a lot of energy work as well. And so I just think that it really is the future, and it's something to really look into and embrace because, we're not getting to the root cause of things. And sometimes you have to look at the why, right? You go to a doctor, they're treating the what. We need to look at the why. Why did we get brain tumors? What was it, that led us there? And I think it's an interesting journey to look into and to discover the why of it, and then you can try to fix and shift and make adjustments. So it's going to be a really cool conversation. I am excited.
Does his practice work on like the micro as well as the macro, or is it like in terms of
What's micro to you?
So micro to me is like, okay,
Depression
you have
or-
you have a week you can't sleep because of anxiety and you can't figure it out. And then the macro is
Yeah.
you have anxiety because of long-lasting traumas or something like that.
I'm sure. I don't know if I'm 100% able to answer that, but
Got it.
guess what? He'll be able to.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's on the show today.
Hey, so we will get to that. Okay, what day does June 8th fall on?
On a Monday.
Oh, Monday. Meanwhile, I want to say hi to Ben in the chat and Darcel. Wait, Monday?
That's what it says. I pulled it up. It says that
So, okay.
the 6th is a Saturday. So
Okay. So maybe we do something fun on the weekend. Maybe. So I was telling Kevin I wanted to do a social distance movie night on the court and project on the wall. So maybe we can do like a team night for our staff, our AfterBuzz staff and Better Together staff, and since it's the two of us, and
we might have to do it on a Saturday though. We have a lot of shows on
yeah,
Monday.
we'll do it on Saturday.
Yeah.
And we can celebrate.
And then on Tuesday, we can have Hangover Taco Tuesday. It's just going to be perfect.
Hangover Taco Tuesday. Yeah. Okay. So we'll keep the celebration going from Saturday.
So Sinner,
Moving in.
we have movie night Saturday, Sinner Sunday. We just got to do some really messed up stuff.
I don't know if I want to be with you every day. We'll enjoy Saturday. I'm gonna do my deal on Sunday, and we'll regroup on Monday here on the show.
Practice Stephen distancing.
Stephen distancing on Sunday. So funny. Well, I am so grateful for all of you guys joining us here as we are still broadcasting every day. We started this in the middle of, or in the beginning of the crisis, to be with everybody together and bring you important conversations, important people that can help us through this time. And so we decided to go live every day, and we're grateful for you guys joining us, whether it's live or on Apple Podcasts or wherever you are finding us. We ask if you like the show or love the show, share it with a friend, share it on social media, help us bring more people in so that they can get better too, right along with us. And if you haven't joined our Patreon, please do. You can just click the link in the summary and join us. We're having really great conversations over there. And we're really proud of what we're doing in there. Lots going on today. The only thing that I really want to get into is, aside from our birthdays, is the idea that China just went back into lockdown.
Yeah.
It's a little unnerving for me right now, because not that we didn't expect things to, backfire a little bit once everything opened up, but to hear that 108 million people in China are back on lockdown, that's a little crazy.
A little bit crazy, right? And I won't get into conspiracy theories, but yeah. It's crazy.
We have enough people doing that.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think that, like, they were very, very confident in releasing everyone at once out of Wuhan and kind of undergoing lockdown. It was about a month ago now, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all their tourist destinations were packed, thousands and thousands of people. So if that was a month ago, maybe this is about 2-3 weeks after the fact. That kind of makes sense for the timeline.
Yeah.
Jeff?
I just think we need a vaccine. And from what I'm reading, we're really escalating the process. I heard Moderna, especially, which is a major pharma company, has really, really positive results on their testing, and they're going into phase 2. But it just seems like until then, what can we do?
I know. But here's the thing, guys. What if there is no vaccine? There's no real vaccine for HIV, which is a virus. I mean, there's so many things that we haven't been able to cure. It is such an emotional roller coaster to think about, where we are, where we're going to be.
I mean, it is pretty crazy. And the more that information comes out, the worse it looks in terms of how it was handled in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, we're finding out now that governors were putting patients with coronavirus to like quarantining them in old folks' homes.
Wow.
And you're like, okay, so the most vulnerable people, you're going to quarantine people with this disease in those homes.
I didn't
So,
hear that.
so yeah, it's kind of crazy when you like dive deep into like where are these bursts coming from, and a lot of them came from old folks' home through just straight up negligence.
Yeah.
And it's really sad to see that when our country's put through a stress test, the amount of negligence within our governing body, whether it's on the state, city, or federal level.
Well, yeah, and I don't know. I just don't know. I've been meditating on being okay with not knowing, and like, and after our conversation yesterday with Katerina, just being okay with uncertainty and the not knowing, right? Like, as we've talked about, I'm a problem solver, so I'm always wanting to like dig in and figure it out. This isn't figure outable.
Everything is figure outable,
No,
Maria.
not the coronavirus. I don't think this is figure outable. I think we have to individually figure out how we can maintain sanity and calmness through this storm. But luckily, we are all in this together, so we all are feeling the same things to a degree, and to varying degrees, obviously, right? Like there's the camp of us that still, have some work. There's the camp that doesn't. There's enough people around each group to not feel alone, is basically my point. But I was thinking about the entertainment industry. That's our bread and butter, and it's like, how is this going to go on? I mean, they're saying they're going to start taking productions overseas. What happens to LA if Hollywood leaves LA?
I mean, Hollywood's been leaving LA for a little bit.
Yeah,
You see lots of like incentives in Atlanta and all these different places. But now, just as Kevin had told you and told all of us, this has just accelerated everything.
Yeah.
And right now, when you look at Los Angeles and how we are tightening up as opposed to loosening up, and you have all these other cities and states that are loosening up, a lot of production is going to start going to these other places, and those other places know it.
Yeah.
Well, Atlanta, Tyler Perry, has his huge studio. AfterBuzz TV did cover that opening, and we did interview Oprah Winfrey on that red carpet. So make sure you go check that out. But two of their shows, Sisters and The Oval, which are sort of the bread and butter of BET right now, they're going back into production in 2 weeks. They're
No
locking
way.
they're locking the whole entire cast on the lot for 2 weeks because the lot is like a hotel. It's huge. It's its own city. And then it's all on sound stages. So they're going to do it. It's a single camp show. It's the first scripted show going back into production.
Wow, I didn't know that. So that's interesting. So you lock everybody down. They can't go out. They can't see other people. So now when you're in production, you are really diehard.
Yeah.
You are really 1,000,000,000% committed to the project because you can't go home and see your family.
Yeah, they're going to try to shoot like 20 episodes in like a month. It's crazy, but it's on sound stages. So if you block shoot and you really just focus, I mean, in some ways as an actor, that's actually a great way to work. Just go knock it out. And then your season is done. Your contract's fulfilled.
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be lots of people on set getting kicked off that set though, because you can't quarantine with people and hide your in like your terribleness.
What do you mean?
I mean, just like
your bad habits.
Yeah, like how people can go home, they can come back to work and only work 6 hours a day or whatever, right? And they can hide the fact that they're kind of a miserable person to be around. Sets are not going to be putting up with that ever again. Like you had 50 people on set for one shoot. That's not going to happen again. You're going to have the best production teams ever after this.
Wow, I didn't realize they were going back into production. And here's the thing. That is a smart way to be able to keep it going. And I do think that LA will always have a piece of Hollywood because of the weather. That's why everybody came here. You come here because it's easy to shoot. So if you're going to knock stuff out, you're going to knock stuff out here. And that's what they probably will do is, the Warner Brothers lot or whatever, they'll create housing and people will come in and they'll film and they'll knock it out and go home.
Yeah.
Damn.
I'm optimistic.
Yeah. I grab my crystals every day and I'm like, okay, all will be well. everything is going to evolve and shift, and we're just going to evolve and shift with it. And I just keep trying. And yeah, it's definitely it is an emotional roller coaster, but that gives me a lot of hope. Because yesterday I started thinking about real estate in LA. I'm like, is it just going to all tank? Is everything, you just think about, at least for me, I'm like, wow, like I did everything right, right? Like I worked hard, I saved my money, I invested, whatever. And it's just like, bah, everything just explodes. Like, oh, cool. My godfather, I was thinking about it, always gave me so much advice, like buy real estate, real estate is real, and blah, blah, blah. And now I'm thinking, oh gosh, like real estate. And he used to really push me for commercial real estate. And, we have our building for AfterBuzz, but luckily that building is small enough where it will always have a purpose because people will still need a place to produce and do things. Having these big buildings, I mean, they'll probably turn them into apartments, like Kevin said, but it's just so strange to be in that place where you just don't know what's going to happen.
Well, Hollywood's a place of excess, and we are not a AfterBuzz, Better Together. Our close circle is not a place of excess.
Yeah.
So you look at like these buildings that are just full of offices that are empty, or these gigantic floors where everyone's got 200 square feet for their desk, and you're like, that's not sustainable.
Yeah.
We have one building in North Hollywood that is packed to the brim with studios, production. Every bit of space is used correctly and has an efficiency to it. And that's going to be the future of how things operate, because you can't afford anything else.
Yeah. It is bizarre. I just think I think we have a long way to go, guys.
Yeah.
I think we have a long way to go. So wherever you are, we need coping skills. We need meditation in our lives. We need to love ourselves and take that moment that we need. Like yesterday, I was so cooked, and I just wasn't feeling well. And I sat down next to my mom. I shut my eyes. I answered a couple of her questions because she just always has to ask a million questions. Maria, what about this? Maria, what about that, Mom? And then finally I answered her questions. I go, Mom, can I just have a few minutes, please? I just want to sit next to you and just in silence and just rest. And so we did that, and I felt rejuvenated after. Like normally I would like reach for another coffee or whatever. I was like, I just need to like shut it down. And so Judy really has impacted me, our guest last week. What would someone do if they love themselves? And I'm starting to really build that muscle and starting to remind myself of different things, because I feel like, especially in quarantine, you start to kind of lose everything a little bit. Like everything gets a little shakier. So I'm trying to really keep that in kind of the forefront of my mind. Anyhow, let's move on to our chat with Dr. Bradley Nelson. As I said, he is the developer of an advanced form of energy medicine based on his best-selling book, The Emotion Code. Tony Robbins, who wrote the foreword to that book, says, "It's my hope that millions more will be led to use this simple tool to heal themselves and their loved ones." Dr. Nelson is a holistic chiropractor, medical intuitive, and one of the world's foremost experts in the emerging fields of bioenergetic medicine and energy psychology. Dr. Nelson, thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, it's great to be here, Maria. Thank you.
So I've always believed that there's an emotional component to illness. And I've been helping families for the last 2.5 years, or almost 3 years, since my brain surgery, go through their brain tumors and their medical journeys, and even just cancers. And when I go through it, I have like my program. It's like, okay, let's deal with the diagnosis. What are we going to do on the Western side? Here are the things we're going to do on the Eastern side, the diets, the nutrition, the supplements. And then I go to the last thing and it's like, okay, what's the emotional component here that we're not dealing with? And everyone literally goes, how did you know? And I'm like, I'm not saying anything that I just don't believe. I feel like there's always an emotional component, something that you've been, not releasing, that you've just been hanging on to, anger, stress, PTSD, trauma, whatever it is. And I think it's kind of that like you have to unlock all these boxes. You have to, yeah, unlock all these boxes and to heal. And if you don't unlock that last one, you're not going to get there all the way.
Yeah, absolutely right. Boy, and how much we have missed that piece, right, in Western medicine for so many years, and continue to miss it by and large, at least as far as organized medicine goes. I mean, we're all focused on finding a vaccine or finding some kind of a drug, to fix this thing. But the reality of it is, most of the time, most of us just need to get our emotional baggage removed. And that's what I found when I was in practice for all those years, is that I had people coming to see me with all kinds of problems, people of all ages with all kinds of conditions. And just like you said, what I found was their emotional baggage was a piece of the puzzle in every single case. And sometimes it was the biggest piece of the puzzle. And sometimes it was the only piece of the puzzle. But it was always there to a lesser degree or a greater degree. And so now we have the emotion code, which just makes it simple for people to find their own emotional baggage and get rid of it.
Yeah. So, how did you kind of craft the emotion code um, and yeah, and figure this out? How did you crack this code?
Well, um, during the years that I was in practice, I practiced for about 20 years in one form or another. And
And do you mean in chiropractic work or?
I went to school as a chiropractor. I went to Life Chiropractic College West in San Lorenzo up in the Bay Area. And when I got into practice, I was, uh, I think like most doctors, I was kind of obsessed with helping my patients to get better. I figured that was my job. That's what they were coming to me for. And so I felt I needed to be really radically open to anything that might help them, right? And I'm a Christian. It was an answer to prayer that got me into the healing arts, a real powerful answer to prayer. And so I developed this habit when I was working with patients. When a patient would come in, I would just take a moment to try to connect and ask for help from that higher power. And we all believe different things. But there were times when the information that I needed would just suddenly flood into me like an avalanche of data and understanding. It didn't happen very often over all those years. But there was information that came that way through intuition and inspiration. And then I was learning everything that I could from every place that I could. And the understanding of emotions and how our bodies produce emotions and how our emotions affect us is really an ancient understanding and an ancient idea that goes back thousands of years, really, to ancient Chinese and Asian medicines. And so yeah, I was able to just gradually, bit by bit, having all of these people to work with. I had a busy practice, and as a solo practitioner, it was just me. So I had lots of people coming in. And during the last 10 years that I was in practice, most of the people that I saw had been told there was really no help for them at all. They were cast offs really from the Western medical system. And yet they were almost all able to get well. But the emotional piece of the puzzle was absolutely critical, just like you said, for every single one of them.
So let's talk about emotions and energy, right? Because you say that it's all made up of energy. And I know there's like a quantum physics end to this and the whole thing. So if you can explain it a little bit more.
Well, sure. To understand how this works, you have to understand that what the quantum physicists have been telling us for 100 years or so is actually true, that these bodies of ours are made of energy. And so if you look at your hand looks pretty solid. But if you magnify it with a big enough microscope, eventually you're looking at the cells, then you're looking at the molecules as you keep going. And as you keep going, eventually you're face to face with a single individual atom. And if you look at the atom and you look what's inside there, there's really nothing in there. It's just empty space and some little infinitesimally tiny energies that are zipping around at the speed of light. And that's actually what we are. So each one of us is a collection of an almost infinite number of these subatomic energies that are all zipping around at the speed of light. We're mostly empty space. And somehow these bodies of ours are being held together, allowing us to live and have these experiences that we're having in this world. So it's all very cosmic, but it's true. Some quantum physicists recently figured out that if you could take all the empty space out of everyone's body on Earth, you could fit all 7.8 billion of us into a little box the size of a sugar cube.
What?
Well, it would be crowded, yes. but it could be done. So it's interesting, right? Because our bodies are energy.
Yeah.
And so what happens is when we're feeling an emotion, what we're feeling is a certain frequency of energy or vibration, because everything is energy, including emotions and thoughts. So if you're feeling an emotion, let's say of resentment, and it's really strong, really powerful, if it's powerful enough, or if you decide you don't want to go there and you just stuff that, then that becomes part of your emotional baggage. We call these trapped emotions. And a trapped emotion is a little ball of energy about the size of a baseball to about the size of a softball. And what these things do is they affect us, I have found, in two ways. They affect us physically because what's going on when you have a trapped emotion is that it is exerting this continuous distorting effect on your energy field. Now, because that's all you really are is an energy field, when you're distorting part of that energy field, you are interfering on some level with the flow of energy through that area in the meridians. You're interfering with the blood flow, lymph flow, maybe to some degree, the chemical reactions, like I said, all kinds of things. So when you remove that trapped emotion, all of a sudden, things can feel better. And it happens all the time. 90%, I believe, and have seen, of all the physical discomfort that people have is actually due to their emotional baggage. And see, more and more people are finding this out all over the world, and that's what's really creating this phenomenon of the emotion code. You know, we have 6,000 practitioners in 80 countries now, and we're all finding the same thing, that when we remove people's emotional baggage, suddenly, you know, their hip discomfort or their neck discomfort, or their migraines, all kinds of things suddenly improve. But then these emotions affect us in another way too. They make it easier for us to feel whatever those emotions are more easily and more readily. So that, for example, if you have trapped emotions of anger, you're going to have a shorter fuse than you otherwise would, right? And if you have trapped emotions of depression, then it's going to be easier for you to fall into that feeling. And so what's happening now with this pandemic is that so many people now are right on the edge or getting pushed over the edge into these intense emotions. But the reason why is because their glass is already mostly full with the emotional baggage that they've already been dragging around in their life, see?
Wow. So how do you work? Is it like a blend of kinesiology and energy work, or because I feel like there's a muscle testing end of it, so there is some kinesiology in there.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, there is. Yeah, that's a great question. So here's what we believe. We all have this conscious mind, which is where we spend all of our waking hours, but then we have a subconscious mind, and that's the part of us that's really the intelligent part, that's digesting our food and keeping our body working in every way and keeping our cells dividing and so on. That part of us, the subconscious mind, remembers everything we've ever done, and every face you've ever seen in the crowd, everything you've ever eaten or tasted or touched or smelled is all in there in the subconscious mind. So what we can do is we can tap into the subconscious mind through muscle testing, which is just a simple form of biofeedback. So the way that it works is you ask questions, and then the body responds through strong muscles or slightly weakened muscles. And so for example, if I were working on myself right now, there are a number of different methods of muscle testing that we teach. But for example, this one's called the ring in ring method, where you make a ring inside a ring. And the body will be strong if the answer coming from the subconscious mind is affirmative, is yes. But the body will be a little bit weaker if the answer coming from the subconscious mind is negative or no.
mhm.
And so when we ask questions, we can pick up those yeses or nos on a simple form of muscle testing. So that's how we do it. We have a series of questions that we ask, and we have a chart of emotions that we use. There's 60 emotions in the chart, and it's divided up into 2 columns and 6 rows. And it's a really rapid process to find and remove a trapped emotion. Most people can find and release a trapped emotion in about a minute once they know how to do it.
So I've had a hard time believing muscle testing, and I believe in it, but sometimes I'm like, if they're pushing, I'm like, did they push harder this time? Did they push lighter this time? That is the part where I have a little difficulty. How do you know if if the practitioner is honestly pushing the same way each time. Does that make sense?
Well, muscle test, there's a certain amount of subjectivity to muscle testing, and it's a little bit of an art, and it takes a little bit of practice. And it's important to not have any kind of agenda when you're doing muscle testing, because the subconscious mind can respond to that agenda. And so muscle testing is not 100% accurate. However, it's accurate enough that we use it and we get great results all over the world. So it's just one of those things. Really, the ultimate way to do muscle testing, I believe now, is to learn how to muscle test yourself and get those answers on yourself. And it's funny that little kids can pick this up so quickly.
Yeah.
As adults, it takes us a little bit longer.
Is it because we're jaded?
I think I think so. Yeah. I think kids haven't learned that they shouldn't be able to do certain things so easily.
Yeah. I wonder, so once you find the answer to where the emotion is, how do you remove it?
Well, what we do is we use one of the meridians in the body. And the meridians are these little rivers of energy that flow all over the body. The one that we use is called the governing meridian. Starts at the tailbone and goes straight up the back, over the top of the head to the inside of the upper lip. And when we're releasing a trapped emotion on ourselves, for example, you can just take a magnet or your hand, either one, and you just swipe a few times over that meridian. And 3 times is all it takes to release an emotion. If the emotion, however, was what we call an inherited trapped emotion, which we all have, by the way, we all, I think, have inherited some emotional energies from our ancestors. And science is now finding out about this too, just recently. But it takes 10 swipes, we find, to release one of those. Because in the case of inherited emotions, you're not only releasing those inherited emotions from you, but you're also releasing them from your mom or your dad, whoever you got it from, but also maybe from their mom or their dad, because they might have inherited it from them. And these can sometimes go back for 10 or 20 generations.
Wow. Yeah, no, I've definitely like studied a little bit of that too. Stephen, I know you have a question. You can jump in.
I'm just curious. You say that like 3 swipes with a magnet or 10 swipes with a magnet. Like, how have you developed this kind of standardization for that's when it's taken away? And how can you look at something and say, okay, it's there, and then do this, okay, now it's not there, right?
Well, right. Great question, Stephen. Well, when I was in practice, I specialized really in asking people's subconscious minds what they really needed. And the reality of it is, we each have a subconscious mind. And that subconscious mind, I came to find, has a list in there of the things that need to be done for us to maximize our health and longevity and so on. So what I did when I was developing this, what I would do is I would just simply ask clients, ask patients, subconscious minds, how many times do I need to swipe to remove this? And so after a number of years, the answer being consistent across ages and so on, and sexes and so on, no difference. It was 3 or 10 if it's inherited. I decided, okay, it's good enough for me. That's what everybody's subconscious mind wants. I just work here.
Is that what they said, or is that what you found through muscle testing?
That's the answer that would come back through muscle testing. Right.
I wonder, Dr. Nelson, if you can share, there were so many incredible examples that I got so sucked into in the book of people who came to you and had various pains or illnesses. And I want you to share some of those examples and what the root cause was so that they can understand in that way.
Oh, sure. Well, one of the stories that is actually not in the book, but that I think illustrates this really well. There was a man that came in to see me many years ago who had really severe low back discomfort. It was a 9 on a 0 to 10 scale. And been going on for a while. And I tested him. And the first thing that came up on the testing, asking his subconscious mind what he needed, was that he had a trapped emotion. And the trapped emotion was anger. And so you can ask questions, and you sometimes need to dig a little bit to find out what the answer is, or to get all the information you need. And this trapped emotion had occurred 20 years before. And he immediately remembered what had happened. It was a work situation. He was really angry. And so I released the trapped emotion, and the low back discomfort was gone. I mean, it was a 9. It had been going on for weeks, and suddenly, boom, 0. And we see this kind of thing. It happens all the time. But he kept bending over and exclaiming and twisting this way and that way. Couldn't believe it. It was like a miracle to him. And I was grateful that it worked so well.
Just in one visit.
Yeah, one shot. And sometimes that happens.
Does it
And
come back sometimes?
Well, here's the thing, okay? The interesting thing about this is, now think about what was going on with this guy. He had this trapped emotion. 20 years before, he's really angry. His whole being is on a quantum level, is vibrating with this frequency of anger. It's so powerful and so huge, his body can't process it. And so, boom, part of it gets stuck. And there's this ball of energy now, literally a ball of anger in his low back. So when I released it, suddenly that distorting force that had been there for 20 years is gone. And now that area can breathe and things feel normal, and the discomfort is gone instantly. So
yeah, now they have flow.
What's that?
And now they have flow, right?
Exactly. Things are flowing like they're supposed to be. It's all energy. This is the future. We are beings of energy, whether we want to believe it or not. It's just reality. Well, so a couple of days later, though, this guy came back into my office, and here's what he said. He said, you know, my back pain is still gone. He said, I still can't really believe it. But he said, when I came in here, I had another problem that I didn't tell you about. He said, for as long as I can remember, I've been what you would call a rageaholic. He said, I'm always yelling at my wife and my kids. I got to watch the road rage. I've been to anger management several times, hasn't really helped me. But he said, since you released that trapped emotion of anger for me, I feel really different. He said, I just feel kind of peaceful and kind of relaxed, and things aren't setting me off like they usually do. He said, how does that work? And at the time I said, I don't know. But here's what we believe, okay? When we remove a trapped emotion, think about this guy. He's got this ball of anger in his back, right? 20 years. When a situation comes along where he might tend to feel that emotion, he will feel that emotion much more easily, much more readily than he otherwise would. Why? Because literally part of his body is feeling that emotion 24/7. And so,
well, yeah, the pain is the reminder too.
Well, even if he didn't have pain,
yeah.
See, even if he didn't have pain, because a lot of the time, trapped emotions are there. We all have these, and we're not all in pain all the time, but they do influence us, and they cause us to feel emotions and travel down emotional roads that we might not otherwise choose. So
yeah, that's the thing I find so fascinating. Like, is hearing that even just with one session, it can be released. And I've done energy work and have had things released in one session, and I said the same thing. I'm like, how? I don't even believe this. And every day I didn't believe it more and more and more. And then I finally was like, holy shit, this actually really works, and the results are long lasting. So, you know, I like hearing the examples because it gives people kind of an idea of what you are servicing in different areas. So whether it's, you know, the back pain that's connected to anger, do you have another example maybe to share with people so that they can maybe see themselves in it?
Well, yes, absolutely. See, trapped emotions don't just cause physical discomfort. They also can cause all kinds of other mental and emotional discomforts or issues. One of my favorite stories is a woman. A woman told me this story that came to one of our events, and she said that she bought the emotion code and the book on audio and started reading it and listening to it. And her son started reading it and listening to it, and she didn't pay too much attention. And a couple of weeks later, the phone rings, and this woman who is calling identifies herself as the mother of one of her son's friends. And she says, listen, she said, your son's been doing this emotional thing with other boys. And she said, I haven't paid much attention. But she said, I have to tell you something. She said, my son, she said, has a severe phobia of water. And she said, we've tried everything to fix it, taken him to everybody we can. Nobody's ever been able to touch this. And, you can have a phobia to anything. And he had a phobia to water. She said, it's been really disruptive to his life and to our life as a family, but we've just been living with this. She said, right now, I'm at the community pool. She said, my son is out playing in the water with the other boys, for the first time in his whole life. And she said, your son did this. How is this even possible? What in the world is he doing? And those two boys are only 11 years old, see? So we don't know any details, how much emotional baggage was removed. It could have been one emotion. Usually phobias will be, in my experience, usually caused by just one or two trapped emotions, sometimes three, but usually that's about it.
Is it usually trauma backed?
Well, when you have a phobia, there's often some kind of a trauma related or some kind of a terrifying incident. I remember once there was a woman that I worked on who had she had a really interesting phobia. It was a phobia of airplane pictures. So, you can have a phobia literally to anything. And she was fine, but if she saw a picture of an airliner in a magazine or newspaper, she would immediately go into a full-blown, huge panic attack. We found what happened. After testing her, she had a trapped emotion, and I think it was terror or panic. I can't remember now. But what happened was, what created it, she was reading a magazine article. She was actually flying on a plane, reading an article about a plane crash, as I recall, which is probably not a very good thing to do, but she was reading about this and identifying with all the people and, going down this plane, and she developed this emotion of whatever it was. That emotional energy became trapped in her body. And from then on, that was the trigger. Anytime she would see an airplane in a picture, she'd have a phobia.
Wow.
Or an attack. So you never know.
Yeah, she was probably very empathic to be able to put herself in that scenario, to feel those feelings enough to have it impact her.
Yeah, very, very, very likely. There was another case that was really interesting. I was speaking at an event once where I asked for a volunteer, and a young woman came up out of the audience. She was about 20 years old. And I started doing some testing on her, asking questions, using muscle testing. So she was holding her arm out, and I'm asking questions and getting yes or no answers. Her arm staying strong for yes, and then dropping for no. And I asked if she had a trapped emotion that we needed to release. The answer was yes. And so I started tracing it back. It occurred earlier than age 10, earlier than age 5, and found out it occurred in the first year of her life. So I'm thinking, well, she probably has no idea what this was about. But I asked her, I said, do you have any idea what this was about? And she said, no. Well, at the beginning of this thing, I had happened to meet this young woman and her mother. She came with her mother. So I looked out at the audience, and there was her mother, and she was as white as a sheet, and she had her hands up like this. And I said, hey, do you have any idea what this might be about? And she said, she was really embarrassed, but she said that back then she used to use cloth diapers. And she accidentally one day pinned her daughter to her diaper, the safety pin. And she didn't know about it until she changed her the next time.
No.
Yeah. So several hours probably, this poor baby is crying, and her mom must have been really overwhelmed. And she was horrified when she changed her diaper and discovered this. And she had never told her daughter that this had happened, because it was just,
Yeah, you feel guilty and you feel bad. My mom just confessed something to me recently about an injury I had that she was responsible for. She's like, Mari, I have a confession to make. And I'm like, Mom, it's okay. Don't worry. But yeah, I can see that. So you can do this on someone physically, but you can also do it yourself, like without being in front of somebody, right?
Yes, you can do it remotely. And we'll get there, but to finish the story really quickly.
Yeah.
Emotion. And she goes back and sits down in the audience. And I didn't think I kind of forgot about it. About 10 days later, I get an email from this girl's mother. And she said, listen, she said, my daughter didn't tell you, but she's had this problem with her, I think it was her right knee and her hip. And they've been bothering her for years now. I think since she was about 9 years old, she said. And she said, it's been gradually affecting the way that she walks even, but she didn't tell you that she had this issue because she just lives with it. But she said, from the moment you release that trapped emotion the emotion was forlorn, which is kind of feeling all alone and desolate and sad, all wrapped into one. She said, from the moment you release that trapped emotion of forlorn, that discomfort that she's had in her hip and in her knee is just gone. And she said, I waited 10 days to see if this was some kind of a fluke, but she said, it has not come back. And she's walking completely normally now. And she said, and she also feels this new lightness of being that she's never felt before. So she's telling everybody about this. But yes, this can be done at a distance just as well as it can be done live and in person. So most of the practitioners that we have that have gone through our certification program, like I said, we've got over 6,000 people in 80 countries now. And most of them work with other people in other countries, many of whom they'll never actually probably even meet in person, but many of whom, many of whose lives will be changed.
Wow. I'm still dying over that story because I just got so wrapped up in the fact that something did happen to her before 1 year old. I didn't think of, oh, wow, then you released it and then you found out what she was dealing with, because I feel like we all have different pains that we just kind of live with, and they're just natural to us. And probably what happens is they progress. Like, she could have gone to a place where they probably thought maybe she needed a hip replacement 10 years down the line, right?
Yeah, very likely, very likely.
So, and there was a quote in your book, I think it was Thomas Edison, that was like the future of doctors.
Yeah, the future of medicine, the future, doctors of the future, I believe, is how it is.
Yeah.
Give no medicine, but will interest their patients in the human frame and the causes of disease and so on. I used to have that memorized.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because, when I'm helping people through their cancer journeys, I'm trying to marry the best of West and the best of East. First of all, I think we're better together. And I've watched that work with my mom. But, if you're gonna, my theory is, if you're gonna barrage a system that's already taxed and sick with chemo and all these things, we better optimize the immune system so that it can handle it. And that's where I've seen huge success with my mom. But the emotional parts of it too, we've handled a lot of that. And I feel like, Hippocrates said, let food be thy medicine. Like, we have to really look at what we're eating.
Absolutely.
And so I do see what he was saying in that quote. Like, doctors of the future are going to be probably going back to where we had started initially, where it was a little bit more natural. Obviously, we have advancements in medicine that we can't ignore, and why would we want to ignore it? But there's a way to do it. And I thought that was a really cool quote in there.
Yeah, absolutely. The doctor of the future will give no medicine, but will interest his patients in the cause, and the causes, and oh, I'm sorry. I thought I had it.
Yeah,
Anyway,
but somebody here could be looking it up for us. That would be really helpful, guys. You see us drowning. Help us. Throw us a life preserver. Find the Thomas Edison doctor quote. But for the interest of the audience, it was funny because Jeff said to me, he's like, he can do this over the Zoom with you. And at first I had this guttural reaction to like, oh, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to feel bad or have an emotional experience or whatever? And I was scared. And then I was like, wait, why would I be scared? I do this all the time. And I do think it would be a great exercise for people to see how you do this. So I'm gonna put myself out there as the guinea pig, and whatever we see, whatever we do. I'm open, and obviously it's such a great gift to be able to do it anyhow. And so thank you for that in advance. So let's.
Absolutely. So first of all, let me ask you, are you feeling any kind of physical symptoms anywhere at all?
I'm always having pain like in this kind of clavicle area. It's
Okay.
connected to, like, I always have, like, my neck goes out a lot.
All right.
And then, various facial
Are you
pains.
feeling that right now?
No, my neck's definitely a little not right.
Okay. So as far as your neck goes, I'm just going to make some notes here. How would you rate the discomfort level of your neck then? 0 to 10.
Right now it's like a 3, maybe 4.
Okay.
Not bad.
Okay, sounds good. And that's been going on. That's kind of typical. It's kind of always there.
Yeah, it's usually when it's bad, it's bad. But it hasn't been bad I was adjusted maybe 3 weeks ago or something. And so I've been able to kind of use a new pillow, and I've been sleeping a little better, and that's been helping.
Okay. Well, of course, I've been a chiropractor for 32 years, right? Retired for 16. But what I found in practice was that the vast majority of the time when someone has a misaligned bone somewhere, there's usually some emotional baggage that's actually the deeper underlying cause. And that's one of the reasons why in my practice, bones, I would realign someone's bone, their vertebrae somewhere, and it would go back out of alignment again. And I was always trying to figure out, why does this happen? Why can't I just realign things? And why don't things stay put?
Yeah.
This is one of the reasons. So here we go. Let me show you how this works.
Okay.
What we like to do, first of all, because we really believe that this methodology came from up above, and so we like to just take a moment and ask for some help from up above. It's just a momentary pause, okay? So we'll do that first. All right, and now let's see. I'm going to be using the ring and ring method. Looks like this, and I'll be asking questions. And we're actually asking questions of your subconscious mind. And the connection, you see, the human body has this amazing ability built right into it to set aside its own needs, to act on behalf of someone else. And we call this working by proxy. So distance healing is done all over the world and has been done, basically since forever. But what you'll see here is that when I ask questions, I'm going to be testing myself here to see what kind of response I get. And if the answer coming from your subconscious mind to mine is yes, my body will be strong and the rings will stay together. If the answer coming from your subconscious mind to mine is no, my body will weaken just a little bit and you'll see the rings break apart. Okay, so that's how we get yeses and nos. So here we go. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So, and by the way, I'll be using this chart. Looks like this. It's a chart of emotions. And there's 60 emotions on here, divided up into 2 columns and 6 rows. All right.
Okay.
So anyway, you can Google the emotion code chart and you'll find zillions of these. So here we go. Let's ask, do you have a trapped emotion? Well, first of all, let's ask, can I act as proxy for you?
Yes.
And I get a yes. So that means we're connected.
Yes.
So to the point, in fact, that if I were to say my name is Brad, that would be true and my muscles would be strong. But right now, if I say my name is Brad, I get a no, because temporarily my subconscious mind has set aside its own needs to act fully on your behalf. So if I say my name is Maria, I get a yes temporarily. We'll break the connection when we're done. So
cool.
No worries.
My heart is palpitating. I have so much anxiety. Just FYI.
You're going to be fine.
I don't know why.
So, well, there's probably some emotional baggage that's about to be released, and it's what's maybe making you feel that. I don't know. Let's see. So let's ask this question. Do you have a trapped emotion we can release that's contributing to this neck discomfort? And the answer comes back from your subconscious mind, and the answer is yes. Okay, great. So now all we do is we go to the chart, and we ask which column it's in. So is this emotion in column A? And your subconscious mind says no. So that means it's in column B. We just eliminated 30 emotions out of 60. So is this emotion then in one of the odd rows in column B, dividing it in half? And the answer is no. So it's in an even row in column B. We have 15 emotions left out of 60.
Okay.
And so we know it's in either in row 2, 4, or 6 in column B. Is it in row 2 in column B? No. Is it in row 4 in column B? No. So it's in row 6, column B. So we've narrowed it down to this little cell right here. The emotion is either pride, shame, shock, unworthy, or worthless. Let's see which one it is. Is the emotion pride? No. Is it shame? No. Is it shock? No. Is it unworthy? No. How about worthless? No, it isn't any of those. Now, here's what happens, okay? I mentioned inherited trapped emotions a little bit earlier, right? And when we're taken to a column and a row and we can't identify the emotion, that's how the subconscious mind guides us to inherited emotions.
Whoa.
So it's taking us to the column and the row, and we're pretty close, but not exactly right, because your subconscious mind wants us to know this was inherited. Is that true? Yeah. So here we go. So I'm just going to make a quick note here. This is an inherited trapped emotion. And what emotion is it? Is it inherited pride? Nope. Is it inherited shame or shock or unworthy? It's an inherited emotion of unworthy. Okay. So don't worry, this is not your fault. You got this from somebody else. Where'd you get it from? Did you get it from your mom? No, this came from your dad.
Yep.
Okay. And did he get this from somebody earlier? So when he was conceived, he got this from one of his parents, from his mom, from his dad. Okay. So did he, in other words, your grandfather, did he get it from somebody earlier? Yeah. Okay. So how far back does this thing go?
Whoa, damn.
Does it go back 10 generations? It does. Does it go back 20? No. 15, 14? It goes back 14 generations. So if we say 14 generations, times roughly 25 and a half years is the latest number that we're using to figure out these generations. Comes out to about 357 years. Minus 2020 comes out to about 1663. So, and did this originate with a male? No, it originated with a female. Okay. So, all right, cool. Now, Maria, do you have any kids?
No.
Okay.
Canine kids.
Oh yeah, okay, those don't count. Because if you had kids, what happens is sometimes you may continue this and pass this down.
Yeah.
And we can usually clear this from everybody just in one shot, because in quantum physics, there are some really, well, quantum physics itself is really weird, but there are principles like action at a distance and entanglement and so on. And basically what we're looking at here is an antique. This is an antique emotion that started somewhere back in the 1600s, probably, give or take, 1663, give or take 20 or 30 years. But that female, that grandmother of yours, had something happen where she felt this tremendous emotion, apparently, of unworthy. So powerful that that energy got stuck in her body, but also when she conceived a child, her subconscious mind, because it's on its own program, it decided, okay, we should share this energy because that was really significant in our life. Now, scientists are finding that animals, if they have some traumatic experience, they will somehow share that memory up to 14 generations down the line. And so this is really what's going on. It's all energy. So do we need to know anything else about this? Not really. So let's release it. Now, this is an underlying cause of your neck discomfort.
No
right?
way.
Yes, that's what your body, see, here's the thing.
Oh yeah, I forgot we started with that. That's where we're trying to figure out.
See, that's where we're going. See, what you have to understand is that these bodies of ours are talking all the time. They're talking to us all the time through the symptoms that we experience, right? And those symptoms need to be the opening of a dialogue, really. But usually we just suppress them, or we just ignore them, or we try to alleviate them somehow. Really, they're the body trying to tell us, hey, I got a problem. So here we go. We're going to release this.
Yes,
so we do 10
please.
swipes. 8 and 9 and 10. So now I'm acting as proxy for you. So I'm connected to you. So you don't need to really do anything. So all you need to do now, let's ask, did we release that? Now watch this. I get a yes. Did we release this also from your father? Yep. And from his father? Yep. Did it also release from all of those ancestors all the way back? And it did. So what I'd like you to do now is just, roll your shoulders a little bit, roll your neck around a little bit, and let's see how it feels now compared to how it was feeling before.
Feels good. I still feel a little stiff in here.
A little stiff? Okay.
Yeah. I think the other thing that I've always thought is because of the tumor I have, it pushes on the brainstem. So I figured that interrupts a flow, and that's why it's always going out too. But I forgot to mention that at the top. But
yeah. Well, see, what I've come to understand is that when we develop some kind of a named disease, every disease really is just a set of symptoms that's been given a name.
Yeah.
And when we have these symptoms, whether they're mental or emotional or physical, the symptoms aren't the problem. For example, if you're diagnosed with cancer, that's really, to me, that's not the problem. The cancer is just the symptom. That's just your body's way of expressing that there's something else deeper that really is where things need to be looked at, right? And that's how I worked with my patients over all those years. So anyway, do you want to do one more?
Yeah, sure. So here's the only thing before you get there. The other thing that I wanted to ask is, I have found when I've done energy work, I don't realize the result till probably the next day.
Oh yeah, and that happens too.
Yeah,
sure.
So like I feel like, by the way, if this heals, my life will change forever, because it's definitely been a very big issue the last few years. And the unworthiness is interesting because I think that's been a battle I've had in my life, where I've always had to prove my self-worth, but it didn't feel organic to me, which makes so much sense, because I've always had self-worth, and then what happened is as I got into these different situations where people made me feel like I had to prove it, then I think I went into that kind of cycle, if that makes any sense.
Right, sure. Well, think about this. That was a very, very old energy
Mhm.
in some years that that you were carrying, and you've had this one all of your life. Sometimes my suspicion is, first of all, that when a trapped emotion is passed down this many generations, it had to be really powerful to begin with.
Yeah.
Usually these things will kind of lose steam over 2 or 3 generations and just go away. But the other thing is that I think, and I don't know about this if this is true, but I think that sometimes when we reach the age of the person that the person was who passed this to us, when we reach that,
Ooh,
it tends to flare a little more into significance. No way to really know
that's
that, but
interesting.
yeah.
Okay,
So
cool.
let's do another one.
Okay.
So same question. Do you have a trapped emotion we can release that's contributing to this neck discomfort? The answer is yes. So is the emotion in column A on our chart? No, it's in column B. Is it in one of the odd rows in column B? Yes. Is it in row 1 in column B? Yeah. Okay. So here we go. So
So
we're
even
right
though we asked these questions earlier,
there.
it can give a new result now?
Oh yeah, this is a new result. Yeah, this is a new trapped emotion. Your subconscious mind is so vastly underrated. It's so incredibly intelligent. I mean,
So does
it's
it go to the most powerful one first? Is that why it took us to the other one?
maybe. I mean, it depends. Right now, we're just asking, is there another emotion here that's contributing to this?
Okay.
And your subconscious mind is saying, well, yeah, in the first case, yeah, here's this emotion of unworthy. Get rid of this. That was probably, pretty major. But let's see what this one is. I don't know. So this is either effort unreceived, heartache, insecurity over joy, or vulnerability. Let's see which one it is. So is this one effort unreceived? No. Okay. Is it heartache? Bingo. Heartache.
Ooh.
So let's see what this is about. If we need to, now we may not need to dig any deeper. With the emotion code, we totally rely on the subconscious mind. And so we'll ask right now, do we need to know more about this? And in this case, your body says, yeah. Your subconscious mind says, yeah, we need to dig a little deeper before I'm going to let this thing go. Okay. So let's find out what age you were. So can I ask how old you are right now?
41.
41. Okay. So let's see here. Okay. Did this occur earlier than age 20? Yes. Did this occur earlier than age 10? Yes. Did it occur earlier than age 5? No. So around age 6, maybe 7 or 8 or 9. So around age 9, something happened that created heartache for you. You may not be able to remember. You may have been 8 or maybe 10, because these are accurate within about a year, give or take, when we go back this far. But does anything pop into your head that might have created this? And if nothing comes to mind, it's okay. The subconscious remembers it all. So about 70% of the time when we find something like this and a person doesn't remember,
Yeah.
it'll pop into their head a day or so later. And usually when they're doing something totally mindless, like the dishes.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I can think of that would correlate to heartache at that point is I think around then my grandmother, who I had never met, died. I believe that my dad's mom, because I remember being in the basement and my dad hysterically crying, and she was in Greece and he wouldn't be able to get to her. And I remember that being something emotional, but I never had met her. So I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to find out here. Let's ask, do we need to know anything else about this? And your subconscious mind is saying yes. Now, the next thing that we usually have to find out about a trapped emotion is if it was absorbed from somebody else. And so that's likely what happened here. Let's ask, did you absorb this? You did. So if someone else is feeling an intense emotion, they're radiating this energy, this frequency. And sometimes it can get stuck in your body. And so let's ask about this. Did you absorb this was this from your dad? You absorbed this? And was it about that, what you described? Yeah. Okay. So this is absorbed from your father. Okay. So do we need to know anything else about this? And now the subconscious mind says no. So that's one of the great things that with the emotion code is that we're talking directly to the subconscious. So it's really, really fast. Let's release this. We don't need to know anymore. And let's see how much of your neck discomfort this was causing, because you've had this for quite a while. Did we release that trapped emotion of heartache? Yeah, we did. Okay. Now, go ahead and move around a little bit in your chair, and let's see how that's feeling now compared to how it was feeling before.
I mean, it still feels the same. I wish it didn't.
Oh, well, that's okay. Sometimes changes take place right away.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, they take place over a little bit of time. But I think you're going to notice a shift with this. I really do. So you mentioned that you've got some kind of a tumor going on?
Yeah, I have a brain tumor.
You've got a brain tumor.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to ask if there's anything emotional related to that?
Yes.
Why not, right? So let's ask about that. Is there? Do you have a trapped emotion that we can release that is related to that? And that tumor, that's just a symptom, is how I look at it. Is there a trapped emotion related to that? Yeah, there is. And so, is that emotion in column A? Yep, column A. So, is it in one of the odd rows? Is it in row 1? Yep. So column A, row 1. So we're right here on the chart. Now, understand, I'm not saying that by releasing a trapped emotion, we're curing your brain tumor or anything like that. All we're doing is removing emotional baggage so that your body can be better positioned to heal itself, because the body is what heals itself, right?
Yeah.
So is this emotion abandonment? No. Is it betrayal? No. Is it forlorn or lost or love unreceived? No, it isn't any of those. So there is an inherited trapped emotion here connected to this thing. Is it abandonment? Is that what it is? No. Is it betrayal? No. Is it forlorn or lost? Lost. The emotion is lost.
Like now, lost, L-O-S-T?
L-O-S-T, yeah. Usually this emotion comes about not from being physically lost, but from feeling emotionally lost in some way. It often happens when, when our partner maybe goes away or dies or something, and we just don't know what to do. We feel lost. It's that feeling of lost. Where'd you get this from? Did you get this from your mom? No, this came from your father. So at conception, you received this energy from him. Did he get this from somebody earlier? Yes. From his father? No, from his mother. And did she get this from somebody earlier? From mother, from father. So does this go back even further? Yeah. How many generations? 10? Yeah. 20? 20. This is a really old one. Does it go back 25 generations? 24, 23, 22, 21. 21 generations, which, if we calculate that, 21 generations times 25.5 comes out to 535 years, minus 2020 comes out to about 1484. 1484 AD. Okay. So is there anything else we need to know about this? No. Fine. Let's release it. Here we go.
Yes. I want to be released of all of this.
Yeah. Well, and the beautiful thing about the emotion code is that when we find inherited emotions like this and we release them, we're not just setting, in this case, you free. We're also, in a sense, freeing them.
Mm-hmm.
We're removing that baggage from them. Whatever you believe, or however, whatever form they're in. I believe that people live on as spirits, and I think we're all eternal. So did we release that? We did. Okay. So did it also release from your father and his mother? Yeah. And her father? Yeah. From and all those generations, all the way 21 generations back? Yeah. So if you think about it, how many people could trace their ancestry, to that? Was it a male? This started with a female also. How many people could trace their ancestry back to that grandmother in 1484? Well, probably a lot of people. And because of the principles of quantum physics, we release that energy not only from you, but also the straight line, but also whoever is fanning off to the side. Anybody that's like distant cousins and so on, it cleared from them too. So why don't you try moving around a little bit now? Let's see how things feel.
It's feeling a little better, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely better than it was the last time.
Definitely better than it was the last time. All right.
Yeah.
You want to do one more for the road?
Sure.
Yeah, I've got time, whatever. So So again, let's focus on this issue in the brain and let's ask: is there another trapped emotion we can release that's contributing to that problem? Yes. And so, what emotion is that? Is it listed in column A? No. So it's in B. Is it in one of the odd rows? Yes. Is it in row 1? No. Row 3? No. Row 5? So we're in column B, row 5. So one of the beautiful things about the emotion code C is that we can find these emotions so quickly. There's no other method that's that's, I think, that's anywhere as close to being this fast. So here we go. This emotion, what is it? Is it conflict? No. Is it creative insecurity? No. Is it terror? Bingo. Terror. So terror, an emotion of terror. This is not inherited. This is from your life.
Mm-hmm.
When did this happen? Did this occur earlier than age 20? Yes. Earlier than 10? No. Between 10 to 15? No. Around 16, 17, 18, around 19, 20. Around age 20, you might have been 19, maybe 21. Something scary happened, apparently. So around age 20, does anything come to mind there?
Yes. Yeah, there was a lot of emotional trauma and physical trauma.
Okay. All right. So do we need to know anything else about this? No. Okay. So let's go ahead and release it.
Crazy. Yeah.
Okay, let's ask, did we release that emotion of terror from around age 20? Yeah, we did. Okay, cool. So, yeah, roll your neck around a little bit. Let's see how things are feeling now.
Yeah, it's getting better.
Yeah, cool. So it was about a 3. How would you rate it now?
Probably a 2 because there's like a little tinge in here.
Yeah.
But it's going away. It is going away, which is interesting.
You want to do one more?
Okay, let's go.
Why not?
Why
Okay.
not is right.
Why not? Okay.
If I'm getting better, let's make it happen. I feel like I'm going to like be Superwoman after this. I'm going to be able to go to the moon because I'm going to be free of so many things.
Well, that's the beauty of the emotion code, is that we've all got this invisible baggage. And some of it, like we've seen here with you, we found a couple of things that were inherited. We didn't even know about that baggage.
Mm-hmm.
But, our ancestors probably all went through hard stuff, hard things. And some of them went through really brutal, really difficult things like the Holocaust or, the pogroms or slavery or who knows. So let's ask, and again, what we're kind of focusing on right now is we're asking about the tumor. So is there another trapped emotion that's associated with that we can release? And there is. So what emotion is it? Is it listed in column A? No, it's in column B in one of the odd rows. Yep, in row 1. Column B, row 1. So is it effort unreceived? No. Is it heartache? Yeah, this is another emotion of heartache. So you have 2 of these. So do we need to know more about this? We do. Did this occur earlier than age 20? Yes. Earlier than 10? No. Between 10 to 15, around 16, 17. This is from age 17. Age 17. Maybe 16, maybe 18. Like I said, it's accurate within about a year, give or take. But does that ring any kind of a bell? Heartache?
My cousin was killed in a car crash when I was 15.
Okay. Well, it could be that, because these can go back sometimes 2 years.
Well, that also lasted. That pain just grew, I think.
Okay. So let's ask about that. Was this about your cousin? Yeah, it definitely was. Sometimes what will happen too is that when something happens, we might develop a trapped emotion about it then. But sometimes, if in a case like that where the pain continues, sometimes you can develop a trapped emotion about it later.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're really thinking about how much you miss that person and so on. Do we need to know more about this? No. Okay. So let's release it. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. There we go. And we release that trapped emotion of heartache. Yep. Okay. Move your neck around now. Let's see how that feels.
Getting more mobility.
Mobility is good.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. I think we should do another one. You got time?
Yeah. Sure.
Right.
I mean, I feel like I'm a head case now, but yeah. Let's do it. Are you guys bored? Are you still interested?
Fascinated. It's so interesting.
Okay. All right. Let's go.
Typically in an emotion code session, a practitioner will remove anywhere from maybe 5 to 10 trapped emotions.
Oh, okay. So it is normal.
Yeah. Oh, it's normal. Yeah. And typically what will happen is you'll get to maybe 5 or 10 emotions, and the subconscious mind will usually just kind of say, okay, I'm done. I got to process this now. Give me a day or two, and then I'll see you later.
Got it.
So here we go. Let's ask, do you have another trapped emotion that's contributing to these issues, either the tumor or the neck issues? Is there some other emotion? Yes. And is it in column A? Is it in one of the odd rows? Yep. Is it in row 1? No. Row 3? No. So it's in row 5, column A this time. So these are different. These are blaming, dread, fear, horror, or peeved. So let's see what shows up. Is this emotion blaming? No. Is it dread? Is it fear? Is it horror or peeved? No, it's not any of those. So now you're learning how this works, right?
Yep, ancestral.
Yep, this is ancestral. It's an inherited trapped emotion. And so let's see which one it is. Is this inherited? Yep. Is it inherited blaming? No. Is it inherited dread? No. Is it inherited fear? Bingo, that's it. Very strong. Inherited fear. Okay. So did you get this from your father? Yep. You got it from your dad. Did he get it from somebody earlier? Yep. From his father? Yep. Okay. So we got dad. Does it go back further? Yes. How many generations? 10? Yep. 15? No. 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. Goes back 10 generations exactly. So about 250 years or so. So let's see here. So if we say 10 generations times 25.5 minus 2020, about 1765, give or take. So around the time of the American Revolution, give or take. I don't know how accurate these are. Probably 10 or 20 years either side, maybe 30. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But it gives us a little bit of an idea anyway. So did this begin with a male? It did. It started with a male. Okay. And the emotion was fear. In fact, who knows? Maybe this actually could have been from the revolution, maybe, or who knows? One of your ancestors at some point went through something that was really scary, and that got passed down. In the same way, for example, that if an elk is at a certain place on the mountain and it's nearly taken down and killed by the wolves, but it escapes somehow with its life, if it has offspring, those offspring for many generations will not go near that area. How do they know? Well, it's because they have a trapped emotion, and this works with animals as well. So let's release this. Do we know anything else about it? We don't. Let's go ahead and get rid of it. Here we go. So 10 swipes.
10 swipes. Here we go. We need to do countdowns.
All right, there we go. Okay, so let's ask, did we release that inherited trapped emotion of fear? Yeah. Did it clear from you and from all those ancestors? Yeah, clear from everybody. So move it around now. Let's see how it's feeling.
Feels the same.
Okay, great. So that's fine. So let's see if there's another one. Can we release another trapped emotion? Or do you have another trapped emotion we can release that's contributing to any of these issues? Right now, I'm getting a no. Okay, so your body is saying, okay, that was enough. Inherited trapped emotions tend to take more bandwidth from the computer system.
Yeah.
So you had what, 3 of those?
Heartache, fear.
You had unworthy from about 1663 from a grandma. Heartache from age 9, you absorbed from your dad, and that was his mom that died, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And then you had inherited feeling of lost from a grandmother, 1484 roughly, and then terror from age 20, heartache from age 17, and then this last one of fear from about 1765, give or take.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's essentially how this works. Works at a distance, works on animals. In fact, there's a whole chapter in the book on animals. There's a whole chapter in the book on inherited trapped emotions too. The book, of course, looks like this, right?
Yeah, I haven't gotten to the animals, and I'm excited because I'm going to practice it on Winnie, who has a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear, and I feel like I will be able to release her, and I'm excited about that.
So is Winnie a dog or cat or what?
She's a dog, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so.
That's amazing how well, really amazing how well it works for animals. I mean, there's just nothing else that comes close to this. And that's a great proof of this too, see, because when you're working with an animal, there's no placebo effect that we know of. I mean, the animal either feels better or it doesn't. It either stops, pooping in your shoes or it doesn't.
Yeah. For sure. I know. I think it'll be really cool to watch. I'm gonna try it. Dr. Nelson, thank you so much for taking all of this time to share your work and of course releasing me. I know how my body processes. I have a
Yeah.
feeling that tomorrow I'm going to be emailing you and being like, "Oh my God," like I've done in the past. Um, and hopefully, we can do another session. There's so many things that I want to get to as well, and this is a
Oh
very
yeah.
dense book, so
We didn't even
um,
talk about the heart wall.
I know there's so much to cover. So I think we'll have to do another session, but for now, thank you so much. And if you guys want to know more about Dr. Nelson, you can go to his website, drbradleynelson.com. We'll put that in the link in the summary of the show. You can follow him on Twitter at Dr. Bradley Nelson. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me on. Have a great day, all of you, and we'll do it again.
Awesome. Sounds good. All right, guys. It's so funny how much anxiety I had when we first started, and then it just started to calm down. I know you wanted to jump in, Stephen, with your skepticism, but we're so running long right now.
I am so angry right now.
You're so
I
angry?
am so angry right now.
Are you?
I am physically shaking in the booth right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's just I don't want to get into it. I can't. It's just so baffling to me. Like I just wish he could like show us like some proof and everything like that. Like that's the thing that's so difficult to me is like we talk on the show all about how illness is mental and how a lot of things are mental and we do it to ourselves, and energy healing and all these different healing things are great tools to cure yourself of that illness that you're mentally straining yourself with.
Mm-hmm.
But I can understand that and I can go with that, but I can't go with, this way versus the other way and not having a proof that it's
What
not.
does this way and the other way mean?
Well, like
Be
if you're going to
specific.
like Reiki versus the emotion code,
Got
right?
it.
Like you're going to take different energy healing methods and they all kind of lead to the same effect of giving somebody a reason for their pain and eliminating it. To me, that's the placebo effect. And I could buy into this until doing it remotely. I don't know how you can get on board with him doing that remotely. It's call and response to yourself.
Yeah, I think you have to read the book and then you might have a better understanding.
Okay. I mean, I'm open to it. I'm very, very very skeptical.
Yeah, no, I get it. And that's why I also wanted to do it on air so people could see the process. And I feel like you need to read because there actually is science behind it. And there is I've done remote EMDR sessions that have been massive game changers for me, and that's a remote healing. And so, listen, the proof will be in the pudding. I'm going to be very honest with whether I feel anything tomorrow, right? Because I know with my other experiences with energy work, like when Dr. Amaral fixed my tailbone, I didn't really feel it immediately, but by the next day I was like, oh my God, the pain is gone. And then the next day, holy shit, the pain is gone. Holy shit, I haven't needed my tailbone adjusted in years since he did that one session with me. And I used to have to get it adjusted all the time. And the same thing with the ear being clogged. We unclogged my ear. All of this was energy. And it has not come back. And it was a decade-long problem. So I know how my body processes. We'll see. Like tomorrow, if that tinge is gone. And if that tinge is gone and I feel something different, then great. Then that it was effective.
I think I just kind of lost it with the subconscious bond for remotely with him saying we're forming this bond. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I know that different strokes for different folks, but it's just
different strokes for different folks. I love that. Well,
I don't know.
listen.
I'm not winning myself any favors here with the listener base, but
No, it's not that. Listen, everybody, this is us going on a journey to learn all of these different modalities. They're going to be for some people. They're not going to be for some people. And I do think that, Dr. Joe Dispenza, who we've had on the show, I think that sometimes there can be a placebo effect. And if you have a placebo effect and it is a positive, then that's great. Whatever it takes to get better, But that's why I like exploring them as in depth as we get to, and giving it the time and the patience, because you get to kind of make your judgment based on what you're going to believe, because if you're not going to believe, it's not going to work for you anyway. And we learned that with Joe Dispenza. So I think, Jeff will get you a copy of the book. I'd be really curious for you to read it and see.
Yeah.
Just Steven's like, I'm not reading it.
It
Okay, we're going to wrap right now because Jeff didn't unmute himself and he's trying to talk. And someday we'll get that part straight with you guys. In the meantime, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being with us. We will be back here tomorrow at 11 a.m. right with you. If you haven't, follow us at Maria Menounos, at Jeff Crane Graham, at Stephen Lemieux Photo, at Dr. Bradley Nelson. And remember, be nice people, make good choices, and be present.